So what is an emotion, really? I mean, have you ever stopped to actually think about that? It sounds so simple, right? But it turns out to be one of the most fascinating and complex puzzles in all of psychology. Today, we're going to dive in and unpack the major scientific theories that have tried to explain this thing that we all experience every single day.
All right, let's start with this quote from the psychologist William James because it's going to flip your brain inside out. We are afraid because we tremble. Now, hold on. Most of us would say it's the other way around, right? We feel afraid and then we tremble. But James suggested the complete opposite, that we feel the fear because our brain is noticing that our body is trembling. This one single idea basically kicked off a huge scientific battle that's been going on for over a century.
And that wild idea brings us straight to our first major theory, the James Lange theory. This was really the first serious scientific shot at drawing a blueprint for our feelings, and it put the physical body right at the center of the whole thing.
Okay, so here's the absolute key takeaway for this theory. Emotion is the result of your body's actions, not the cause. You don't cry because you're sad. According to this theory, you feel sad because you're crying. Your brain is basically playing detective, just watching what your body's up to, and then it slaps an emotional label on that physical evidence.
Let's use the classic example to make this super clear. You're walking in the woods and bam, you see a snake. According to James and Lange, the very first thing that happens isn't the feeling of fear. Nope, it's your body's automatic physical response. Your heart starts pounding, your muscles tighten up, and it's only after that happens that your brain tunes in, notices these changes and goes, whoa, heart is racing, I'm all tensed up, I must be feeling fear.
Now, you gotta give him credit. This idea was totally revolutionary. It was the first time anyone tried to ground our feelings in actual physical science. But, other scientists immediately started poking holes in it. For starters, our bodies can be kind of slow, but we feel emotions in a flash, right? And here's the bigger problem. Think about it. Your heart races when you're terrified, but it also races when you're super excited or even when you're furious. So how could the body's reaction alone tell you which emotion you're feeling?
Well, those criticisms opened the door for a new set of thinkers, like Walter Cannon and Philip Bard. They looked at the James Lange's theory and said, you know what? This body-first sequence just doesn't add up. They proposed a totally different model, where everything just happens at once.
So the Cannon-Bard theory argues that when something emotional happens, it triggers two things at the exact same time, but they're completely separate. It's not a chain reaction like the last theory. Think of it more like a split signal. The feeling in your head and the reaction in your body are on two parallel tracks, running side by side. Let's bring back our snake. This time, when you see it, a part of your brain called the thalamus acts like a dispatcher. It instantly sends out two messages at the same time. One message goes up to your brain's cortex, which makes you consciously feel fear, and the other message goes out to your body, making your heart pound. The feeling and the physical jolt are co-pilots, not a sequence of events.
But wait, the story gets even better, because in the 1960s, two researchers, Stanley Schachter and Jerome Singer, came along and totally changed the game. They looked at these two competing ideas and asked a brilliant question. What if they're both kind of right? What if the body provides the raw juice for an emotion, but the mind is what gives it a name based on what's going on around us?
And that question led to the two-factor theory. The name says it all. It says emotion needs two ingredients. Factor one is that general physical arousal. Your heart racing, your palms getting sweaty, that kind of stuff. But factor two is the cognitive label. It's your brain looking around and deciding why you're feeling all revved up.
So the sequence gets another rewrite. First, something happens and you get that physical jolt. Your heart starts racing. But then, and this is the critical new step, your brain immediately starts scanning your surroundings for clues. It's asking a question. Okay, why is my heart going crazy right now? And the answer it comes up with is what determines the emotion you actually feel.
And this is the theory's aha moment. It's so powerful. A racing heart is just a racing heart. It's generic physical data. But if your heart is pounding while you're staring down a grizzly bear, your brain goes, okay, that's fear. But if your heart is pounding because you just sprinted across the finish line and won a huge race, your brain labels that exact same physical sensation as joy. The body signal is the same, the mental label changes everything. This new focus on our thoughts really paved the way for the next big idea, which took the mind's role even further. A psychologist named Richard Lazarus came along and argued that a thought doesn't just label an emotion that's already there. He said the thought is what creates the emotion from the very start.
This is the cognitive appraisal theory. It says that before you feel anything, before your body reacts at all, you make a lightning-fast, often totally unconscious judgment about what's happening. You appraise the situation. Is this good for me? Is this bad for me? Is it totally irrelevant? And that split-second thought is the trigger that kicks off the whole emotional and physical chain reaction.
So, one last time with our snake. According to Lazarus, when you see it, the very first thing that happens, faster than you can even blink, is that cognitive appraisal, danger. That single thought, that one evaluation, is what then generates the feeling of fear, which in turn tells your body to respond with a racing heart. With this model, thinking comes first, period.
Okay. Wow. That was a lot of different sequences and theories, right? Let's take a second to just put them all side by side. It'll give us a really clear picture of how our understanding of emotion has evolved over time.
This chart is basically our cheat sheet. James Lange says emotion starts in the body. Cannon-Bard says the body and the feeling happen together at the same time. Schachter Singer says it's a two-part recipe, the body's arousal plus a mental label. And Lazarus argues it all starts with that initial mental appraisal. You also see Lindsley's theory on here. We didn't dive deep into that one, but his idea adds another layer, focusing on how the intensity of our emotion matches how activated our brain is.
So after all that, which theory is the right one? Well, what modern neuroscience tells us is that they're all kind of right. Emotion is this incredibly complex dance between our bodies, our brains, and the world around us. And that leaves us with one final thought experiment for you. The next time you feel a big rush of emotion, anger, happiness, fear, whatever, just pause for a second. Try to be a scientist of your own mind. Ask yourself, what came first? Was it the thought? Was it the feeling itself? Or was it that physical jolt in my body? The answer might actually surprise you.